All right, I think we should be good to go. We're going to give some time here in the beginning to let some people join in. And in the meantime, I am going to open up my chat so I can see what you guys are up to. Give me just a second to finish setting this up. I've switched some things around here. There we go. Awesome. So if you guys can hear me, type something in chat so I know you are there. And yeah, we can go ahead and get started. Grab this guy here, get set up, and let's go. So I've been sculpting on this Fat Boy concept here by Louis Gadea. Definitely check out their work. I think tonight we're going to be working on some expression. Start there and then probably go around and fix some minor stuff that we got going on as well. There are more than a couple things on the list that I need to take care of. But expression sounds fun, and it's been a while since we've touched this guy's face. I think we were working on his face maybe a couple weeks ago. If you guys are interested in seeing the backlog of this character, it's up on YouTube, so you guys can check that out. And if you guys want to check out more of my stuff, you can just go on over to wherever it is, youtube.com/Follygon to check out my YouTube channel. I am currently in the process of doing a little collab with Shane Olson, who also streams here on the Pixo channel. So definitely check that out. We just released part 2. And then if you guys want to check out more of my educational content, courses, brushes, materials, etc., that's all over on my Gumroad, which is just gumroad.com/Follygon. So check it all out. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Hop on back over to Zbrush here. And like I said, we're going to be starting with expression. I think on our last stream is when we just started to break symmetry. So he's kind of still in the early stages of that. I had a little bit of time here right before the stream where I spent mainly just fixing a bunch of stuff. He was very flat at the front of his belly, so I did a little bit of rounding out to some of the objects up there, as well as just kind of fixing a lot of small stuff that I think is pretty boring, so I wanted to take care of as much of that as I could off of stream before we jumped in here. But now we can get into the actual fun stuff and start working on expression. And what's going on, Chris? Welcome. Welcome to the stream. How you doing, man? So let's get up here on the face, and I was trying to figure out some things with the hat a little bit here in terms of angle. Because if we look at this line here for the brim of the hat, I think this side of the hat is going to end up being super duper short and squashed in. So I don't really want to mess with this too much right now. I'm fine with maybe doing a little bit, but that's probably going to be something that I want to do in Transpose Master so that I can move a bunch of stuff all at the same time. So you see how I'm squishing that edge and it's starting to show a little bit more of what's on top. So it's a little bit of cheating going on there for sure, so I'm going to have to kind of figure it out myself here in 3D to make it work. But let's not worry about the hat too much. Let's get into expression here and work on that face. So I am, you know what, I'll keep the hat on just so we can continue to check proportions here, but that's the only reason I'll leave that on. So let's see, I think the face has a little bit more tilt off this direction. There's some cool asymmetrical stuff going on with the glasses, definitely with the eyes. So if we look at my character right now, everything's still symmetrical in the face, but judging on the angle of the eyes versus the angle of his eyes, it's quite a bit steeper. I don't know what that is, maybe 20 degrees or so more in the face. So, and look at that nose. That nose is offset with the mouth. That's interesting. So the nose is going this way, and then the line of the mouth is going much further that way. Same with the eyes. So there's kind of like this contrapposto stuff going on in the face, which is pretty interesting. I doubt that that was intentional, but maybe we can try to pull some of that in. So let's head into Transpose Master, but let's only take our character's head. So let me hide a bunch of junk here. And we'll turn that hat back on as well. And that should be fine. So let's go into T-pose here and get to work. Chris, attempting a Zelda Sculpt. Sounds like fun, man. Love me some Legend of Zelda. I actually have been playing the new one, the Crypt of the Necrodancer Zelda game. What's it called? Cadence of Hyrule. Crypt of the Necrodancer featuring the Legend of Zelda, I believe is the full name. It's a mouthful, but it's a pretty fun game. Swayer, what's going on? Welcome. Nothing much going on over here other than working more on this awesome concept. Let's start off by getting that a little bit more of some tilt in the face. And to do that, I'm just going to go around and grab all my subtools except for these. So let's mask these off. You know what? Let's keep the ears where they are. So all the facial features. We're going to turn off perspective here so I can get a better mask. And we'll aim for something like that. Start with that. Probably going to break a few things along the way, but it's typically how this stuff goes. And let's get a little bit more rotation in here. So, whoa, skew that face. Beautiful. So we're starting to get some more tilt. You know, there's definitely some asymmetrical stuff going on with the eyes. I don't know if I want to break them too much, but I'd be willing to make one maybe like a little bit more open than the other. Typically that kind of thing isn't super intentional, it's more so just that's how it goes when you're drawing things a little bit in perspective and asymmetrically like that. So let's judge some angles here, specifically with the eyes. Let's get a little bit more tilt. I don't want to break things too much, so we'll probably stay somewhere around there. And one thing that we can do, I actually have a spotlight image of just this character's face. I'm going to grab that really quick. We can actually use this to overlay on top of here. And just grab this, turn down the opacity, maybe like 50% or so, and try to line that up as good as we can. I'm going to try, let's see here. A little tough to see everything that's going on. So many different subtools. All right, let's go right about there. So that's kind of lined up with the nose. There's some stuff that's not perfectly lined up here in the face, but I don't really have perspective on right now. There's a lot of stuff that's kind of missing in terms of clothing and everything else. So I think we're mainly just looking for a few angles here. And looking at a few things in terms of size. So I like to turn on polyframe while I'm doing this just so I can see some of the subtools a little bit easier. We can kind of fade out opacity wise here. So we definitely want to get some more tilt in the mouth for sure. We want to offset those eyebrows as well as our glasses and get a little asymmetry going on there as well. So let's start from the top and kind of work our way down here. I'm going to turn off this hat and we are going to run in auto groups here. So I can start working with these glasses and breaking sim. Ooh, and one thing I wanted to do, one last thing. If I can realign that one more time, please. I think that was, oh man, now I can't see. I want to realign that back to about where I had it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I want to drop a point on my timeline. There we go. So let's do this guy's glasses now. Like I said, work our way from the top down to the bottom. One hell of a mouth bag. Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty small, pretty average. Or actually, that's his tongue. If I can select it, Jesus. It's just open in there. Just open on the inside. Nothing too crazy. Alright, so let's see. We want a little bit more of some kind of curved shape going on here. I'm going to use a large move brush. Just start playing with some of these different angles. So this is all low poly here on my glasses, so when I adjust this, it's not really gonna, I'm not afraid that it's going to break anything too badly. I will have to make some corrections here, obviously. Alright, and let me get this guy here. I'm gonna slide this out so we're not completely buggering his nose. If I can grab that lens again. And there's a bit more of an angle there. And if I want to get that really tight feeling, I'm wondering if I can make that bridge of the nose a little bit more thin, a little bit more narrow. That might help with that quite a bit. But yeah, let's continue here with the rotation. Where's that top point? Let's kind of do a real quick general rotate there. Try to get that relatively close. And there we go. So we're starting to get some cool asymmetrical angles, specifically here in the glasses. But if we want to get that in to be a little tighter, like I said, I think we're gonna require a thinner nose right through here. I'm wondering, I don't want to break that too much, so we might have to make some sacrifices there. We'll play with it. We'll see what we can do. Did you see the Zelda by Hunter? No, because I don't know what that is. But yes, the Crypt of the Necrodancer game is pretty fun. I'm enjoying it. What is the best source for learning anatomy? I don't know. I have no idea what the absolute best source for learning anatomy is. My recommendation is always to study as you go. So I don't think there's a huge benefit to just overloading your brain with a ton of information that you're not going to use. I think it's better to, as you need it, study what you can. I find that to be quite a bit more useful. So you study what you need when you need it, and then you take action upon that. So if you're sculpting an arm, you don't understand something that's specifically happening there, you brush up on your arm anatomy, and then go and sculpt your ding-dang arm, and there you go. Huh. Okay, so I might be able to get a little bit of a better angle in the glasses by moving these back a little closer to the face to fit more in that nose crevasse that I got going on right now. I also want to get a little more asym from this top-down angle, kind of like that. So I'm liking that, and I think we're just going to make some room. We obviously want those eyes to be visible, so I think we're going to just make sure that that is possible from this front view. Turn on perspective, make sure that we can still see those eyes, make sure that we still kind of have the same feeling. See how the lenses kind of like tuck back behind the nose? They kind of like disappear into nothing. I can't do that too much, because then it just starts going in his face. But maybe we can pinch in a little bit more there. I don't want it to break too much though. A lot of the time, when a 2D artist is doing something like this, it's not really intended for it to make sense from a physical standpoint, from a three-dimensional standpoint. They're just trying to make it look as best as they can from that one angle. And, I think Louis Gadea was definitely successful in that. We can just push that a little bit further. Obsess over our glasses a little bit longer here. I think we can get something really cool. And unfortunately, none of my creases are coming through because we're in transpose master. So we'll have to hop out of this. But for those that are just joining us, here's our face where it is before we hopped on over into posing. And we'll be getting back to that as well as the full character here shortly. I'll show you some more stuff with it. Let's go back to removing our hat. Fix the lens, or what do you call that? Not the lens. the part here that rests on your ear. The ear rest. Sure. I don't know what that's called. The part of the frame that goes on your ear. You know what I'm talking about. Let's move that out. And wow, beautiful. One down. Asymmetry makes everything more organic, more gooder. I do not have a lot of verts here, so it's kind of hard to use topological masking to my advantage. I will check on the chat in just a second. See some new stuff out of the corner of my eye. And maybe we will mess with that angle a little bit more. Let's see. Follygon. What's going on? How are you doing? Fred, Marquis, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for the kind words. Hope you're doing well. Alright, let's go ahead and... That far corner is out there pretty far. You know what? I think we're going to keep it. We're going to try to make that work. I am wondering if we should lower that ear on the left side, and I think the answer is yes, just a little. After skewing the face quite a bit there, it ends up kind of needing a bit of an offset for the ears. Alright, just kind of looking at a couple of the other angles here in our glasses. Okay, I think that's feeling a lot better. Let's go ahead and do some of this offset with the eyes next. Specifically, let's do the eyebrows. Sorry, the like physical brow, then the eyebrows, then the eyes. Because messing with the brow will determine where our eyebrows go. I'm gonna head back to T-pose, sub T, really fast. I'm gonna turn off our glasses now, our glasses and our hat, because they're just kind of getting in the way now. So that'll skew a bunch of stuff. Ooh, that's always fun. And you can see it's kind of going through everything right now and freaking out. Which is always fun. Alright, so let's just turn off all this extra crap that's in the way so we can focus on the actual face. And I don't really need Transpose Master anymore. Okay, so proportionally, let's just put this over here for a sec. Definitely a bit lower on his right side of his face. So there's changes with the mouth that we will do with Transpose Master just so we can move everything at once. Let's grab our little eyebrow up here. Eyebrows, or just brows in general, you know, everybody thinks of eyes as being the most expressive part of your face, but honestly, brows are up there. And they're kind of part of the face, but you know, they're just so expressive. You can ever so slightly move one of your eyebrows and it completely changes the feeling of your character. Like a very small move there makes a world of a difference. I'm just trying to taper these a little bit more because they pretty much go down to sharp points based on the concept, and I'm not going to make them super close together, but that'll be what we like to call good enough for now. Alright, and these are just planes of geometry that I gave some thickness to manually. But let me just kind of realign that now that we've shifted them down. I want them to be pretty thin. Expression is always something that I like to spend a really long time on, and we'll spend a decent chunk of time here for our stream on this, but I will absolutely be spending more than just a couple hours on something like this. I always find that faces are, I think everybody probably agrees that faces are really tough for a lot of different reasons, but specifically when you start breaking symmetry, it's really easy to take something too far. And you kind of end up breaking stuff. Sometimes you have to break some stuff to fix things, take one step back to take 2 steps forward kind of deal. Just kind of depends, but luckily there's not, you know, a huge amount of asymmetry going on. He's got these really sharp, awkward lines going up on his face, kind of like a Joker character. And I played around with these early on, and I've played around with adding them here as well. And they just feel really awkward and out of place and don't make too much sense, so I've opted not to include them. Might change that later on, but at least for now, that's what we're sticking with. I'm gonna see if I can make his schnoz a little smaller. Just a tad. So like I said, I don't know if this rotation is intentional or not, but it's definitely there. Definitely some offset happening in the angle of the nose. And then in the mouth, obviously, go in the opposite direction. And it's a pretty big angle change, so I don't know, maybe it was intentional. It's hard to get inside the head of the concept artist there sometimes on some of their decisions. Sometimes I see things and I'm like, oh, that's so smart. Wow, I'm so glad they did that. And then other times it's just, you have no idea what they were thinking. So luckily I have some nice edge loops and poly groups around my eyes, and I was actually able to get those with Z Remesher with Keep Groups. So it's been very beneficial for working on the face. I would highly encourage you guys to play around with it. If you haven't before, maybe we can do a little demonstration later, if anybody's curious. Just trying to clean up this line a little bit. It's a little messy. Some of the geometry is pretty stretched through that area because I have a star. You guys can maybe see that right there, causing some issues. It's not too bad though, especially if we subdivide high enough. We do have a material problem though, which is pretty common. Pretty much always happens here. I'm gonna fix that actually here in a moment. Nose is feeling a bit too asymmetric up through this area. I'm wondering, maybe we can just kind of clean that up a little, smooth it. Leave some more room for the glasses. Maybe, like, really try to push in that corner through here. See what that looks like. At least try it. I'm actually okay with that. I don't think it changes the silhouette too much. I don't think it looks too bad. Alright, let's continue here. A little bit more. The brow. And then with the eyes and mouth, we will go back into Transpose Master so that we can move a couple different objects at once. So let's do that now. Oh, and really quick, just to show you guys this material problem. So in ZBrush, when you are working on anything with poly paint, see how there's like all this weird kind of speckling going on here? That is because these polys, or technically vertices, because poly paint is essentially a vertex color. Same thing with material assignment. It works the same way. But essentially what's going on there is that these vertices have lost the material that's assigned to them, and that happens by stepping up and down through your subdivs and adjusting polys and working with poly paint. So if you're working with poly paint, typically you want to stay on the highest subdiv. It's not a huge issue though, because you can fix this really quick by just turning on material, selecting the material that you want to use that's on everything else, and then just clicking on fill object. So now we are back to where we were. So let's fix our eyes and our mouth now. Get back to T-pose. I'll talk a little bit more about expression here as I adjust the mouth. One thing that's really cool that I really like about faces is this really nice flow that happens. There's a lot of these. Have you guys ever seen that illusion where there are it's essentially a box, but it's missing the corners. It's just 4 lines, kind of in a box shape without the corners. And it's your brain kind of automatically connects those lines. And the same thing kind of happens with faces. And a lot of the time, you don't really realize it or pay attention to it. But it's got this nice kind of flow happening between the brows, like up through here. There's this nice connective line. And I want to make sure that I retain that in the sculpt as well. So hopefully you guys can see that. There's another one of those kind of imaginary lines that typically flows up from the corner of your mouth and up around your brow as well. That's another area that I like to look for those, but just something to think about and look for in your characters in the future. But let's see, let's try adjusting our mouth angle ever so slightly. See here. You're working on something. Unfortunately, the Pixelogic channel is multi-streaming, so I don't know if you can, one, I don't know if you can post links on the Pixelogic channel, and 2, I don't have the ability to see them here, but I would be happy to take a look. Yeah, it doesn't look like the channel has permissions. And I do not have permission to check that out. But if you're looking for a cool place to share your work, definitely check out the Pixelogic ZBrush Discord, which you can find with a quick Google. Alright, let's get some mouth angle here. So I'm going to start by just rotating that and offsetting it. There's also this nice curve happening here, and then for the bottom portion of the jaw, it's kind of like this. It's a little bit heavier on this left side, so I'll try to get that in as well. And we'll try not to destroy our boy's beautiful teeth here. Try some topological masking. Maybe not. Discord is not an environment I reside in. I don't reside in the Discord too much either myself. But there's a lot of good people there. In particular, if you're looking for help or critique, a lot of people willing to do some of that kind of thing. This angle on the chin is still a little wonky, a little messed up. So let's try to fix that. Let's try to fill in some of this so we can get a bit more of a clean silhouette here. I don't have my subdiv, so I can't do too much here with the face. Alright, and then up here, let's do a quick couple changes around the eyes. I just wanted to play around with opening up this eye to be a little bit taller. And then for the other eye, just a little bit wider. Maybe move that hit in a little bit. I might, I think I need to make the, what do you call them, eyelashes a little bit thicker. Shouldn't be too hard with an inflate though. Alright, I think that might be a little bit too much over here. Let's T-pose back and check it out. Alright, so we definitely need to change the direction that he is looking. Let's get in here and start making some more changes to our face, now that we got our subdivs back. Alright, I think both eyes still need to be a little bit taller, but one of the ways we can kind of facilitate that change is by also thickening up the eyelashes. And also adjusting the angle of our eyes. I don't think my eyes are round anymore. I'm pretty sure I butchered those already, unfortunately. I like to keep my eyes round if I can because it makes it easier during this this phase. Let's center our pivot. It kind of seems like he's a little bit cross-eyed, like he's kind of looking in just a little bit. I'm looking at the, like how much the glasses are covering that up over there. And then I'm also looking at this pupil iris and looking about at how much white space is available over here. So I don't think I want to make him too cross-eyed. I think he might feel a bit too goofy. There's that problem with the eyes not being perfectly round. Little adjustments here and there. Shouldn't hurt us though. The eyes are already not round, so it's not like it's gonna hurt to grab them with a move brush or anything else, as long as they still kind of retain their main shape from what we're looking at here. And then what I want to do is add a little bit of inflate here to the lashes. We can try to do that with our deformation palette, or we can do that manually with something like a move brush with backface masking. I kind of prefer to do it manually most of the time, but I think it's going to be a pretty small change, so I think this will be fine. Now, I think the eyelid is just a little bit too far up off our eye, so let me see. There are a couple different ways I can fix this, but I'm just going to try shifting the eye up in the socket just a little bit. Still feels a little bit like a little bit much here. I don't know if that dog ever stops barking. Alright, so we just need to get this a bit tighter around the eye. I think we'll be in a good place. I'm gonna make this edge here just a little bit sharper though. Alright, another thing I want to try, see how we're kind of getting this like, oh, there's pretty much just a line up there representing the inner side of the lid. So if we can kind of blend some of this out so it's not quite as sharp in some of the other areas, I think that'll start to feel a bit more close to what we're seeing in our concept. Let's also make sure that we're not getting these huge lids down here on the bottom. Starts to feel really heavy. Can age your characters a lot. Not that this is a young whippersnapper or anything like that, but still. Alright, that's starting to feel pretty close, or definitely a lot closer, right? But as with all things here, we'll probably be hitting this again later with another pass, but let's take a step back. Let's grab our glasses, turn everything on here. There's definitely some changes that we want to make to our mouth, but we're at a place where I have my poly groups again. Makes it a lot easier to manipulate. Alright, and let's just go ahead and turn on everything. It's been a while here. Go ahead and take a look at the full character. There's still some more stuff that I want to do with the face. I think that the eyes, it might just be the pupil and iris. It might need to be a bit larger. It might just be that, or it might just be the entire eye. Maybe even a little bit of both. Hard to tell right now. Let's make the eyeballs just a little bit larger for each. Start with that, and then possibly expand upon that if we need to. So it's not like a huge change. It's maybe about like 5 or somewhere between 5 and 10% larger, but it's enough to make a difference. It's kind of poking through a little bit over there though, so let's fix that. And we are getting there. Starting to feel a lot closer for sure, but I think there's still a lot of work we can do. Let's grab our full body concept though. Grab this real quick. Awesome. The solo head looks scary. Yes, gotta behead our characters to work on them properly. What is the best way to animate oblong eyes? I don't know. I'm not an animator. Semper, what's going on, man? Let's see. You have to do some feathered wings for a creature. Realistic character, and I'll have to do textures with Mari. So, there are a few different ways to go about doing feathers. I mean, as with everything, I have done feathers in the past. I personally like to use insert multi-meshes for feathers. So that's definitely something that you could play around with. I have a tutorial on my YouTube channel that shows that in a very simplistic form for how I did the feathers on this character. So very simple geometry, but it's still the same process, and I find that it's quite a bit easier to work with something that you can just kind of insert multiple times over and over again that you might have a few variations on, and then from there you can essentially add some more variation. So that's what I would recommend, but you know, there's a billion other ways you could do it. Let's see. Do you have any advice on how to approach features that don't easily translate from 2D to 3D? I think that's a very specific question that's asking for some general advice, and I don't really like general advice a lot of the time. I find that general advice is typically bad advice. So if you have an image that you want to maybe like point out something, I would be happy to take a look, and maybe we could kind of break it down, which is always fun. I think the easiest and kind of best way to handle that stuff is, one, to obviously have a really good grasp on your fundamentals, but then two, just kind of be able to look at this kind of stuff and take it into Photoshop or something similar, do a draw over, and better understand your form. So draw overs are kind of the key to success when you are really struggling to understand what you're looking at. And it's definitely something that kind of comes with practice, but the more you do it, the better you're going to get. So get practice in your draw overs, I guess. There's like a weird surface hit happening here that's causing some awkward shadows that I need to take care of. It's kind of happening over here a little bit too. Not as bad as the other side. This is pretty much fine. Let's see. So I want to have kind of these areas in the face, like I was talking about before, where there's these imaginary lines that flow up between these different shapes. And I don't want to connect this super hard, right? Because that looks kind of robotic and awkward. It's not even in the concept, but if I can, make your mind make those kind of mental connections, I think it's always nice to see those kind of internal connective silhouette lines and stuff like that. Especially if you can take like an external silhouette line and bring it inside your character. It's one of the tougher things though. Kind of just depends on what it is though. If I see an example of that, I will show you. Actually here's one. Just on the side of the head, right? We have this external silhouette break. It's a pretty hard shape, pretty hard turn, right? It's almost like a 90 degree. But we kind of bring that line in through the rest of this head, and it kind of flows back around this direction, and it kind of starts to soften and taper out. So it's the kind of thing that I really like to incorporate, and it's just good for helping to revolve a shape in 3D. Hey, look at that. We got some expression. We're well on our way. I think those lines in the chin are just probably a little bit overdone. So let's go back through and clean those up. Beautiful. Beautiful big bouncing boy. Let's see. Probably model a few and then just build it up from there. I think I would do the same thing. Probably create like 3 to 5 different feathers. Feathers actually look different depending on where they are on the wing. You said you're doing a winged creature, so it's just the wing. So there are different types of feathers. There's a really good example that I found online, a really good reference image. You might be able to find it with some Googling, but it's just kind of like breaks down the feathers based on where they are on the wing. It's really cool. You should try to find it. Let's see. It will be painful. Yeah, it can be, for sure. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate the kind words. Alright, so this hat is annoying and very, it's going to be very annoying to deal with. So, I think I'm just going to have to squash it quite a bit. So that we can see the top of the hat a bit more. Probably some tweaking to cheat this a little bit. We can cheat in 3D too, right? We'll actually just add a little bit of curve here. For those curious, I'm using the Mask Lasso tool. I know a lot of people start off just using the mask pen, just because it's the default masking brush. But if you hold the control key up here, there's a bunch of different mask brushes to play around with. In particular, that Mask Lasso is a very powerful one. I typically use that for most of my selections, and then if I need to make something a little bit more precise, then I'll swap over to the mask pen. But for something low poly like this, it's more than enough for what I need here. Just gonna make sure that the head is not interpenetrating there. I want to make this feel integrated really well so that it actually feels like it's sitting on his head. I know we can't really see much of a connection in the concept, but this is kind of what really sells this stuff. A lot of the time, I think this stuff gets overlooked, and then what ends up happening is that, the objects that you're trying to integrate feel kind of very stuck on and floaty, and I think it feels pretty awkward. But the more you can kind of integrate these things, I think the better. And what's going on with this shape? It needs to be wider over here if we look at that angle compared to that angle, quite a bit more steep. And it's got like this extra weird piece there. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet. I've not thought that far ahead. And this edge loop here is starting to break a little bit. It's getting really uneven. So I originally just beveled that so that it would retain that sharp transition a lot more clean through there. But I'm probably going to delete it and just like re-bevel it back in. I need, what do I need? I need, whoops. I need to fix this bottom side. So this is I'm going to cheat this quite a bit, but we'll make it work. Kind of in the construction phase on this, so it's, I think, the more boring stuff, but it's all necessary to get it up to a appropriate level to start looking good. I can't see. Your freaking head's too wide at the bottom. Go away. I have to imagine for people that just like randomly join in on a stream like this, that they're like, they see something like this, and they're just like, what the hell is going on? What is this garbage? Why? What are you doing? Why are you doing this? There's got to be just like a billion questions. What is a polygon? Better question. What's a Follygon? How do you extrude a single edge from a plane? You can't in ZBrush, but there is a cheat for how you can do it in ZBrush. I'll show you. So here we have a plane of geometry. You cannot, unfortunately, using the Z modeler brush, there's a lot of awesome functions with it, right? Extrusions, Q-mesh, all that good stuff. But you unfortunately can't extrude an edge. But you can cheat it by essentially doing this. You extrude the plane up, extrude the edge the way you want it to go, and then you delete the excess. So there's multiple ways to go about that. One of the easier ways is to use the Q-mesh function, and you can just click and, oh no wait, Q-mesh deletes the entire object. So what I would do is just select and delete that back face. There we go, and delete hidden. So we've extruded the edge. A workaround, absolutely a hack, yes, but that's pretty much the, one of the easiest ways to do it here in ZBrush. Depending on how complex your object is, sometimes this isn't really possible. So sometimes you have to take it into an actual poly modeling program, like ZBrush or like ZBrush, like Maya or something like that. But that's how I would go about extruding an edge, and I believe that is the function that you are asking about. Absolutely, my pleasure, as the Chick-fil-A people always say. Man, now I want some Chick-fil-A. Alright. How's that angle looking? That angle's looking a lot closer to me. Let's do one more tweak. One more yoink. It's a technical geometry term, which means to move a vast distance. A yoink. All right, and then I was thinking about maybe using a live Boolean to create that shape. I don't know. Let's try it. That's about all we can do is try it. So this is going to be wider over here. I'm going to kind of block out the shape first, how I think it would look if that cut wasn't there. And then I'll take that cut out. What is this hat? It's like a press hat, like an old something like an old news reporter would wear or something like that. I'm sure they have a name. I just don't know what it is. But if anybody knows, please let me know or find me a reference image. Let's see here. Let's do a live Boolean. I'm going to use just a cube, probably. Alright, so turn on live Boolean, set this to subtract, and I'm just gonna kind of cut out a wedge out of this hat. Like that. We will refine the shape, yes. But we need to at least get it headed in the right direction a little bit at first. Looks like a fedora. Yeah, I mean, I guess, but I don't think it is a fedora. Maybe it's like a special type of fedora? I don't know. Maybe it's just a fedora with a really hard dip in the back edge. This guy doesn't look like he would wear a fedora though. But I guess maybe the time period he is from, fedoras meant something else. Alright, so this is like cutting an actual chunk through here, which is not what we want, obviously, but just to like make sure we get that shape correct in the beginning, it'll be helpful. Something like that. A bit too deep. So I'm going to clean up and refine this shape, but we just need to get it figured out here in the beginning. Try to get the silhouette first. And I think we're really close. I think what I'm going to do is just take this chunk of geometry and make this its own thing. So I'm going to split this off. And then for the bottom piece here, how can I do this without breaking everything? Whoops. My brain. Okay, want that. Want that. All right, cool. So I'm just trying to split this up really fast here. Boop. Alright, there we go. That's what I wanted. So now I have the brim and the top of that hat separated into two separate objects here, which is gonna help when I go to work on this piece here, which looks pretty awkward right now. We'll fix it up. All in good time. Let's turn off some poly paint because it's getting a little tough to see. Give us some subdivs. All right. Just kind of break our geometry here a little bit. Isn't clip worth for this detail? I'm not sure what you mean. Are you talking about the clip brushes to do something like this shape? No, unfortunately, we won't be able to get the kind of control that we need. I mean, we could get it from one angle, but you know, we're 3D artists. We can't just make it look good from one angle. I have to infer some of the shape language here, so you know, it might look, you know, it's kind of matching the silhouette here, right? But that's not good enough, unfortunately. So I'll be doing some stuff here to clean this up. You'll see here in a moment. Whoops, wrong way. I can never remember how crease works. The crease slider, it's always like, it has to be greater or less than that number that you put in that value down here in the crease button. I always forget which one it is. Okay, so let's see here. I'm gonna start shaping this up. Alright, so I just dynamesh this out really fast. It's a quick boolean. It gets the job done. But now we can start shaping this up further. So I want to go a bit more sharp on these points, and then I'll start to soften this transition here and probably fill in this gap a bit as well. But I really like Dynamesh for this kind of thing because it's, you know, if you know how to work with it, you can start to fill in a lot of gaps and awkward geometry that you get without too much effort. So I'm going to pull this out to exaggerate this angle. Maybe square this off as well. We'll see. Let's grab some images of a fedora here real quick. Actually, I'll do this here. Fedora. So let's see if we can find something that might have a similar silhouette. If we can try getting that dip in to maybe be a bit softer here, we might be able to get a decent shape there. Let's try that out real quick. Trying to find something that might have a similar, there we go, something really sharp, some kind of really hard crease. Perfect. The perfect image. Oh wait, was it a GIF too? Did it move? Oh wow, that's beautiful. That's good stuff. Alright. So some kind of really tight edge. So we gotta make this look good from our other angles too, which is the tough part. I'm going to do a quick little trick. Just do this. Try this out. And see if this helps our shape a little bit to start softening that edge, particularly right through here. Probably just a bit too deep. I always like to exaggerate stuff a little bit and then start to fade it back in, so we're getting there. Starting to fit the silhouette even closer now, and this is starting to feel a bit nicer too. If I can, slowly start to soften this, that'd be awesome. That is more or less what I'm looking for overall. Trilby, a trilby. Let's try that. Unless this is some like weird sex thing that you're making me Google and you're lying to me, which I will be very upset if that is the case. I see an autocorrect for hat, so I feel safe. Oh my god, what is that? That's beautiful. So the tight crease is a trilby. I see, I see. So that that's kind of more or less the direction that we're headed in now. So appreciate the additional info there for some reference. Always helpful. Never know, you know, somebody posts a link in chat, got them risky clicks. Alright, just trying to tighten up that edge a little bit more. In the silhouette, we're getting a pretty sharp turn, and the outside of this side here, we got a little bit of a concavity happening. We need it to be the opposite though, more convex. Just add some volume here. Start pushing that a little bit. There. Go chill for a moment, Mr. Head. Awesome. All right, so from here, what are we missing here? We're missing our little hat brim thing that I made earlier. Silhouette-wise, you know what? I think I'm gonna shift this surface, or this tip, I should say, back a little bit. Just to match that angle a little bit more closely. And I am going to delete that Boolean piece from earlier, and then just adjust our, you know what, I'll just redo this. I think it's gonna be easier than trying to fix that. What just happened? Oh, I duplicated. I do not want to duplicate. Alright, let's redo that. The way I did that was with a curved tube snap brush. Set your brush mod to 4. And Draw out, hold the shift key. Whoops, it doesn't want to be my friend. It's not going to do it. I'll probably just draw it out manually. So normally you can get it to reconnect over to the other side. But I am not getting that to work. It works really well on geometry that is cylindrical or on anything that has a nice clean open face. So you can like cut up your geometry to insert stuff on, which is very nice. Let's lower our Z intensity. And voila! Not perfect, but it's in the right direction here. I'm gonna delete a bunch of these. It's just way too dense. And then I'm going to re-extrude the thickness because it's going down at an awkward angle. And it's not uniform. If I can click the right thing here, geez. Less poly is easier to manipulate. It's kind of the rule of thumb here. You have to be super skinny to look right in a trilby. I wouldn't know. I've never worn or owned a fedora or a trilby. I don't think I could pull it off. Almost there. All right, let's get rid of our excess junk. So I'm re-extruding this just so I can manually control the thickness. Another benefit is it will kind of polygroup this for me. Beautiful. All right, Z modeler. Extrude all polygons. I now have a poly group, which is beneficial because I can mask this geometry. If it'll let me mask the correct geometry here. Hold on. Let's see if it'll do it this time. Oh, it's masking everything. There we go. So polygroup this, mask, invert the mask, there we go. So now I can, because I have polygroups, I can more easily select this stuff, and I wanted to move that edge loop up. So a lot of benefits to having these polygroups through manual extrusion. And then we can crease up some edge loops here very quickly. And have something nice and clean and uniform as well. All right, I think that'll do for now, and I'll probably mess with that and clean it up just a little bit more later. Beautiful. So the hat's getting there, at least a decent chunk closer now. There's obviously a lot more that needs to happen, not just in the face. Oh boy. Here, let's turn off live boolean for a sec. There we go. Live boolean does not like when you have geometry on your canvas like that. So I have a bunch of other stuff on the list here. I wanted to fix my buttons really quick because they're in his belly right now. And maybe play with his arm a little bit. I don't know. How much time do we have? We have like 45 minutes, so that probably sounds like a good couple things here to start correcting and fixing here at the end. And of course, any questions or anything else you guys want me to look at? Looks like a bear in a human suit. What's going on? Ghost, welcome back. How you doing, man? You need a time machine to look right in a trilby. Makes sense. Alright, let's try to fix this here. A tiller hat. Hombre sombrero. I'm reading your URL. Not clicking. Not clicking yet. We've had our fair share, I think, of risky URL clicks on this stream. Alright, so just kind of realigning my buttons back where they belong. I was doing a lot of fixing to my character's body. He was looking, so after I started breaking sim and posing this guy up, he started to really lose just a lot of the roundness and volume in his belly. And it started to feel real awkward. It started to feel really flat in particular. So I spent a good chunk of time, about half an hour, just specifically focusing on that. I have to question the placement of these buttons as well. I might switch that up later. You can put URLs into virus total website. I'm not concerned about getting a virus on my machine. I can't remember the last time I had a virus. I'm decent enough with computers to not have to worry about that kind of thing. But I am worried about clicking on something on the stream here, especially when it's not on my own channel, here on the Pixelogic channel, that would be inappropriate here on Twitch. No boobies on Twitch. We all know the rules. Come on. Get some nice folds in this vest later on. I think that'll be fun to play around with. What's going on here? What? Not even nipples. What's the what's the Tumblr rule? Female displaying nipples. It's like the weirdest wording in the world. I can't remember what it is. It's something like that. Just like the wording alone sounds super creepy. Alright, so we got those buttons back in place, you know, the general placement. A couple of them not making too much sense, but, you know, let's stay a little bit more true to the concept. And, yeah, let's see. There's definitely some stuff that I wanted to do with that arm over there, as you can probably tell. There's definitely some stuff that I want to do over here with this arm to work on it a bit more, too. But he's coming together. Getting a lot more of the parts and pieces here. Slowly into the correct position. But for something like this character, honestly, it might have been easier to just do the body asymmetrically from the very beginning, just because he's so so offset in one direction, you know, way out over here. It was really tough to manipulate my geometry. I had to, you know, obviously, when posing a character, there's always going to be some stuff that needs to be adjusted and resculpted, but this character in particular made that very tough. It's very hard to make that call, though, when you're in the beginning and you're not too sure, I think it's pretty much always best to start symmetrically in terms of saving yourself some extra work and time later on. But with this guy, maybe I could have broke symmetry a little bit earlier, but overall I'm still pretty happy with the direction right now. An extra little thing back here bothering me. The slope of this arm over here, if I try to line it up with the actual concept, doesn't make hardly any sense, just because it's pretty broken. The other arm's pretty broken over there as well, but this one in particular, it's like it's in front of the stomach here, which isn't possible unless I just kind of smush his round belly in, which I think doesn't make too much sense in terms of revolving the shape of the character. So I think I'm going to just kind of fix this angle and make a little bit more sense here from a 3D point of view. Sometimes, you know, some things are broken beyond the point of actual possibility. Somebody was asking about, you know, tips for translating 2D to 3D. And, you know, each character is different, but sometimes it's just not possible. Sometimes there are things that you can't do. And right now, it's kind of one of them over there. I just had a little bit of a brain blast here. I'm going to try to adjust that angle to get that to read better from the silhouette without interpenetrating the body, which is never something that we really enjoy doing. Don't want that geometry smushing into something else where it doesn't make sense. All right. Female presenting nipples, yes. That is what it is. Very creepy. Tumblr messed up on that one. Zebulon, what's going on, man? Welcome. No, you cannot show any kind of nude reference on stream for Twitch specifically, I know. Even if it is artistic anatomy. They're specific about that. But they're more concerned, it seems like, with language than anything else. Like if you say something that they don't agree with, there are a lot of instances where the Twitch team will remove that channel. I don't think they have, you know, a good set of, let's say, standards to kind of check that stuff against, where it's more so like, hey, we don't like this, so we're gonna take this down. But when it comes to, you know, a lot of the quote titty streamers on Twitch here, they just kind of let those fly by because I think they're a little bit more okay with that. But I would prefer not to take any risks, especially here on, you know, not my channel. So I don't think we need really any nude reference for this guy. I would prefer not to have nude reference of this character. I'm good. I'm solid. We'll stick with what we got. Just a single image to work from. I think we can infer a lot of his balloon anatomy from what we can't see. Alright, so we got a nice clean kind of rounded shape there. This chunk of arm right now is not though, so not quite as clean. See if I can fix some of that. Get it to align a little bit better. And maybe even, I got an idea. So if I'm trying to like align something, or kind of like what I did up in the hat, I temporarily booleaned out a chunk so that I could clean that up. Instead, this time I'm going to temporarily boolean add a piece of geometry. And I'll do this a lot when I'm working on arms with a really extreme bend. Sorry, just had like a mini stroke there with my brain. In the elbow or shoulder. I'll show you what I mean here in just a sec. Alright, so I will take these two pieces of geometry and merge them together. Do a quick Dynamesh. And then just work on pinching up this edge here. I'm going to run an auto groups first though, because I'll be able to do a little trick here in a second with those. Using our polygroups. You don't have to do it, but you can just like slice it up and get it back. But essentially what I'm doing, temporarily merging these together, starting to pinch this edge, get a nice sharp hit up here towards the top. Clean this up down here. I don't really care too much, so I'm going to remesh this here in a sec. And we'll just Control W to re-polygroup this. Slice. Good enough. So let's do a Z remesh with keep groups on. Target poly count 1K should probably be enough, and we'll see what happens here. You're good too on the big boy extra reference? Yeah, I figured most would be. Alright, there we go. We got a nice clean edge loop through that specific area. And now we can add in a crease through there if we want to you know, tighten that up even more. I don't really think that's necessary. Let's just see how that's lining up though. Pretty good, I would say. With probably just some minor corrections here and there to make that feel even better. But like I said, just kind of a temporary merge here. I can kind of delete that, but I actually really like the crease that I'm getting here through this area. That's causing that to feel a little bit more like some pit action going on there. So I will probably keep that extra piece. Let me take a look here. And I'm probably at a place where I could even merge down that secondary chunk of the arm. Let's see. I need to, I still need to do this with my hand. So I need to kind of adjust the angle and try to get this to a place where it's gripping the hat a little bit better. There's a lot of moving parts here that I want to play with. Now that I've adjusted the angle of the elbow, I have a bit more to work with. And I need to make this arm quite a bit fatter, which I'm sure you can tell. Specifically on like the arm of this hand, not this geometry. That geometry is actually matching, this red piece is matching the silhouette perfectly. But I'll have to add on some extra geometry here to the hand. Hands are very tough to figure out placement, especially for something like this where I have to essentially get the point of his shoulder, the elbow, and the connective point between the head and the fingers all to line up with the concept as closely as I can, while still not breaking the character and also looking good from as many other angles as we can get it. So there's a lot to kind of think about there, but I think we're decently close. I've had to stretch that hat to get it into position. It's almost like he's pulling on it, stretching it out towards his fingers. I think that's probably about as close as I'll get here. His hand's out a little bit further, but I think I'm gonna leave mine where I have it, just because that's kind of like really stretching the hat out there super far. I think it looks cool in silhouette, yeah, but it starts to break down a lot of things here in the concept pretty quickly. So let's make a sacrifice there, and we'll change the hand ever so slightly by moving it in. I don't think it'll make that huge of a difference. Uh-oh, my chat's wigging out here, but do you have any videos on creating characters that you can export for rigging and exporting for game development? You can export for rigging and exporting for game development. Yeah, I mean, really any character that you're working on, once you get to the neutral point, you can export that and throw it into something else to, what's going on here? To, whoa, let go, please. To set up your manual topology, your UVs, and everything else. So at this point on the character, I could have exported him and started creating some manual topology and working him into a game development pipeline. But instead of doing that, I've obviously taken this character into a pose here as kind of a sculpted figure in Zbrush. So let me quick save before I delete these. I'm always very scared that when you click delete all, sometimes Zbrush will crash. It actually hasn't surprisingly happened in the newest version of Zbrush. I think it just used to happen so much that it kind of scared me into like being conditioned essentially to always do that. But quick saving often is just kind of a good practice in general. That arm is just feeling a million times better to me where it is right now. The weight and balance there is feeling really nice. So I'm really happy with those changes. Even though that was some pretty quick stuff, I think that's feeling pretty good. And then obviously, you know, there's quite a few changes here that need to take place with the arm up here for the sleeve. For the sleeve and such. Let's see. He's really cute. Yeah, he's a cute character for sure. So I probably don't have, I don't think, based on what you said in that second comment, I probably don't have like a specific tutorial that you are looking for. I think you're looking for something more in a game dev pipeline. I'm pretty much just a digital sculptor. I sculpt characters, and that's about it. I don't really make stuff game ready too often. It's been a decent amount of time since I've done that kind of thing professionally. So yeah, I don't know, you know, off the top of my head who does like a ton of game dev stuff online in terms of YouTube and free tutorials. So I'm probably not the best person to ask, but if you're looking for some more awesome ZBrush artists to check out, you're in the right place. And I do know that some of the people that stream here on the Pixelogic channel also do a lot of game dev stuff. So hang out here, and I'm sure you'll find somebody with some similar content to what you're looking for. Alright, I need a sleeve for this arm, which is essentially just going to be the arm duplicated. Amazing, I know. About to blow your freaking gourds. What? Amazing. Alright, I will have to remesh this hand into this arm piece that I've created. Or maybe I could get away with a little projection. Let's see, that might work. Just to make that quite a bit larger. Let me see if I can fit that shape a little bit better. Try to just match this a little bit closer by eye. That's a big angle change. You know what? Changed my mind. I'll just mesh this in. It'll be a lot faster. So he doesn't really have much of a wrist. It kind of just goes from arm into hand. So to make sure we get an appropriate res here on our Dynamesh. And you don't have to Dynamesh. You can use live boolean instead if you want. For this kind of thing, it's just easier for me to Dynamesh because I'm going to continue Dynameshing this after I merge this together. Whoops, step back, please. Turn off poly paint. So ZBrush can only remember one of two things between Dynameshing, poly paint or poly groups, and I want the poly groups on this, specifically, oops, step back yet again to when I did this. Dang it, ZBrush! Now I have to undo even more. That's okay. Turn off poly paint. Dynamesh. There we go. Good as new. Hard to see the polygroups when the geometry is so dense, but you can turn off line here if you need to. Alright, cleanup time. Got an interesting, kind of a sharp, awkward pullout happening here in the pinky. We'll mess with that later, I think. Let's just get this blended up nicely. Used to make medical models and didn't really care about poly count. New territory. Awesome. Well, good luck on the new territory. I know it's always frustrating in the beginning when you're doing new stuff like that. Trying to nail down the process. Alright, let's see here. Definitely need some more cleanup in the silhouette. Definitely need a bit more blending in a few specific areas, but I think we're in a good enough place to remesh our hand. So I'm going to do that. So I have some poly groups around my fingernails, and I actually did this unintentionally, but I ended up liking the result from my remesh so much that I ended up keeping them. But the poly groups around the bed of my fingernails is actually going to help retain that shape quite a bit. It ends up pretty cool here, so I'll show you what that looks like. And I think I'll just aim for the same poly count that I did before and hope that our remesh doesn't explode too much. Oh. And I'll just give that a second to calculate, I guess. For those that are new here on the Pixelogic channel, welcome. I'm Follygon, and I stream here every Tuesday, just about, at the same time, 6 p.m. Eastern. Ooh, look at those. Look at those poly groups. There we go. So that's why I had those in there. So that'll help retain that shape, and now we can project that back up. But yeah, if you guys want to check out more of my stuff, you can check out some Trilby hats that I sell online. No. Check out my Gumroad. It's gumroad.com/Follygon. Those were some references from earlier for his beautiful hat. But yeah, Gumroad/Follygon. All my courses, brushes, materials, all my junk's on there. Except for my personal junk. I keep that on me at all times. But let's fix our hand here. The main thing here that I did was just try to get a bit more of a blend between these two areas. I should mention before I forget, my Mastering Appeal course has been, the registration has been closed on this for the past couple months because I was in the middle of one of the sessions, but now that is over and I'm going to be opening up registration again here soon. I don't have the specific date nailed down, but if you guys want to be the first to hear about that, you guys can check out my YouTube channel or whatever social media works for you. Just Google Follygon and you'll find my stuff. Alright, so we now have some sculptable topology here with some subdivs that we can start building up a bit more to a nice clean level and take down some volume here. How do I want to do that? Looking a bit flat around that area, so I'm trying to fix that up a little and possibly just obliterate our thumb pad completely, because I'm not seeing too much of that in the sculpt. If we're going for accuracy, we don't want to sculpt anything that's not represented. So that includes things in anatomy, that includes extra folds in clothing. It could be a bunch of different things. You don't want to over model. Create extra work for yourself. All right. Get in there. Oops. Quite a bit that needs to change up here, but one thing at a time as we start to get all the parts and pieces in there. Let's see. Still some angles that need some work here for sure, but I'm liking the direction. So I will probably leave that where it is for now and play with that a bit more later on. Let's look at a few other areas that are kind of suffering and need some help. YJ, what's up, man? Welcome. I just want to let you know that your brushes are great. I really like it. Well, thanks, man. I like them a lot, too. I got tired of using a lot of different brushes and then, like, sitting there at the start of ZBrush and making, like, a ton of different changes to customize them every time. So, eventually I just started playing with my own. Same thing with my material. I really like the basic material. If you guys are looking for, that is not the basic material, sorry. I really like the basic material in ZBrush. I highly encourage people to sculpt with this. But my only problem with the basic material, I think it shows the form, you know, I don't think you could ask for a better material. A little bit you could, because I like mine a little bit more just because it's not quite as harsh on the eyes. And especially for me when I was sculpting all day, and I don't sculpt as much as I used to, but that's going to be changing a bit more here soon. But yeah, it just kind of gets harsh on the eyes looking at that basic material for a long time. It gets very bright, and if you're in a dark room, like I often am while sculpting, I find that to just be a little bit more enjoyable on the retinas. But yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I spent a long time on this. I said I wouldn't mess with this arm anymore, and look at me. I can't stop. You probably noticed that the geometry has this nice big old seam back here. I will be correcting that later on. Essentially, this is just two separate pieces of geometry. And I just kind of split it right down the middle to kind of create that shape for the clothing. It's still really messy, and it needs, you know, to be cleaned up. But for now, it kind of gets the job done. I think I'm probably... Let's see. Oh, the bag. That's what I'm forgetting. So we started to make the bag during the last live session because I wanted to kind of show off a lot of the steps and kind of go through them pretty slowly so that some people could maybe follow along with kind of the beginning stages of doing some cool stuff with insert meshes, triparts welded brushes, and just the Z modeler brush for poly modeling. So if you guys are interested in poly modeling, check out that last stream. The beginning of that is where we work on this bag. And I do have that somewhere here. But if you guys are interested in learning the Z modeler tool completely, I have, and this is obviously not in the correct place because it's still symmetrical, but I have like a 3-hour-long tutorial over on my YouTube channel that goes through all that. And I think you get to build a clock, which is always fun. I think projects are probably the best when you kind of build something and have something to show for it at the end of it, because you get to learn and practice something new, but also you end up with something cool at the end. And it's free, so that's always nice. I want to start posing these hands, but we only have like 10 minutes left, and that would be a terrible idea. Hands take just a ton of work. So what kind of little changes can we do up here to the face? Because we started here with expression. Let's end here with expression. And just start making some little tweaks up here. I got quite a big gap up here between the neck and the collar. So let's start fixing some of that. Because that is not looking great. Got to get your interactions to be a lot nicer. Take this collar. And I kind of want to pull that face out more. What do I want to do there? Looking at this gap right here. Let's play with just getting some extra volume here. This might look stupid from this angle, but we shall give it a try. You know what? I kind of like that direction, actually. Uh-oh. Getting quite a bit misshapen here. Try to fix one thing and end up breaking 10 other things. This is my life. I have worked on one AAA title somewhat recently, but I've never worked in film. I've worked on properties from film for toys and life-size figures, but most of my sculptural work is on that kind of thing. So anything for physical production. Mostly, like I said, a background in toys and life-size figures, stuff for like events. So if you've ever gone to like a Comic-Con or anything like that, and they have like a life-size Iron Man statue, so like that kind of thing. Or if you go to an amusement park and see like a giant SpongeBob, something like that. And then, of course, I think you obviously know what toys are, so I don't think I need to describe that one. Oh man, this volume here is not quite as much as I need. Just need the surface to turn a little bit faster. But it's starting to work. I'm starting to like this. What is the thing that when you work on the eyebrows at the beginning, you kind of switch between low poly and high poly, smooth and non-smooth mode? So specifically on my eyebrows, so what you're talking about is just subdivision levels. So see my face, see how it's low poly, and I'm just stepping up through the subdivision levels. So if you're very new to ZBrush, essentially, let's grab a cube, because that's probably the best way to show this off. So we got a cube, yay! So you can subdivide a piece of geometry by pressing Control-D on your keyboard, and essentially what that does, a subdivision essentially multiplies the amount of polygons by 4, is kind of a good way to think of it. So it becomes more dense. Whoops. So you can see that we have 4 times the amount of polygons there. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. But in the specific, and you can subdivide up and down, there are hotkeys for it. But in the case of my eyebrows on this character specifically, I am not specifically subdividing them. I am applying it's kind of like a smooth shade in Maya is a good way to think of it, but it's called a dynamic subdiv. It's just a way to pre-visualize what that looks like. So it's the same hotkey as stepping up and down through your subdivs, which is D and Shift D. But that is what I am doing there. And I know for people that are a little bit newer to ZBrush, the idea of subdivisions is something that you have to get used to and wrap your brain around for takes a while to figure all that out, but makes sense once you get in there. So close. Oh no, he's overspilling. No problem, man. Happy to help. It's what I'm here for. Might be about as close as I can get it without going super overboard. I'll probably try to play with that a bit more though. I'm just trying to fit this. Oh no, we super broke that. Just trying to fit this back in here so it's not going through the collar. Where's the collar? A little bit of a teeter-totter, right? Back and forth kind of deal. Find that nice balance. Get the volume right. Flowing in there. Plus not get that shape to bleed through. Can be a little frustrating, but it's worth taking the time to make something look good. Just kind of cleaning up this shape, trying to focus for the last 5 seconds here of our stream, which is not something that I can do while talking. I'm always so bad at talking and sculpting. I don't know how some people here on the streams sculpt so fast while talking at the same time. It blows my mind. I'm not quite that good. Still kind of a decent gap in that area, right? But I think I can kind of choke the collar back a little bit and start to fill in some of that gap, and I think that'll help that shape a lot. And then I can start to soften this transition here, and I'll start to get in a really good place overall. You know, softening a sharp edge isn't incredibly tough, but you just don't want to overdo it, because then it ends up kind of breaking the the break in the surface. Just the right amount of smooth. And we're getting there. Still a little bit too tight, but I will leave that for now because we are out of time. Let me turn off that bag. Awesome. So we have done a lot to this guy in terms of fixing and cleaning up. We've done a lot with the expression. Fixed a lot in the arm. Tried to fix some extra stuff here in the face here at the end. I actually like that pull out quite a bit. I think that's feeling a lot better. I might try to get a little bit less of a concave surface there, but that's something that I'll play with later. For now, I'm liking it, but he's still got a little bit of a way to go until he gets to a finished level, but we'll save the rest for next Tuesday. So I'll be streaming again here on the Pixelogic channel, wherever you're watching, Twitch, YouTube, whatever. so on Tuesday, next Tuesday at 6 p.m. EST, 3 p.m. Pacific. If you guys want to check out more of my stuff, of course, there's my Gumroad, gumroad.com/Follygon, courses, brushes, materials, base meshes, etc., etc. Or if the YouTube channel interests you, it's just YouTube/Follygon. And we, as in myself and Shane Olson, just posted our part 2 of our Pass the Sculpt thing, which was a lot of fun. You guys should absolutely check it out. Shane's a great guy. Definitely check out his work as well. And we're doing one more part on this, a third part, to continue, or essentially pass the sculpts one last time and finish working on those. So be on the lookout for that as well. All right, cool. You guys have a great rest of your night, and I hope to see you next Tuesday, or maybe over on my channel. I'll see you guys.